Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on building an all-star staff. Today we have a frequent guest of our webinars, Nikhil Joshi, here to talk about building and developing staff that can ultimately help your business run successfully. So as normal, feel free to chat in any questions and I'll have Nikhil answer them at the end of the webinar. But with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Nikhil.
Excellent. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nikhil Joshi. Thank you very much, Austin. I'm going to go and share my screen here. Austin, you able to see the screen okay?
Yep, looks good to go.
Perfect. Well, welcome, everybody. As Austin mentioned, my name is Nikhil Joshi. I'm honored to be a guest of Zen Planner for probably my 6th or 7th webinar and online training with you guys here. So I see a lot of people who've been repeating and seeing a lot of you guys in some of our other trainings as well. So glad to see you guys enjoying the content, I hope. Today, we're going to be talking about a very important topic, one of our keystones in our P3 formula for success, which is our staff and building an all-star team. And that's probably one of the most important aspects in building a martial arts school or any type of business, a CrossFit business or a restaurant for that matter, is having a team around you. A lot of martial arts studios that we can come across with. There are a lot of business owners that are just starting off. Maybe they're starting off in a gym or maybe even in the garage or whatever the case may be. They have a passion for it. But in order to scale, in order to create something that's going to create an income and create a living and allow you to be able to reach more people, you have to have a team to be able to do it. Now, building a team is also one of the hardest parts of a business. So this is why it's critical that we have some elements that go into this. So let's go ahead and move into the content here. As Austin mentioned, if you have any questions that pop up, feel free to go ahead and type them in the chat. We'll have some time available for question and answer at the end. Or maybe if it's a more private question, I'll have my contact information here as well, so you can always reach me there directly. For those of you guys who haven't joined us in your webinar, this is a little bit about us. My teacher, who's here on the right-hand side in the middle, Brad Winterberg, has been involved in the martial arts industry for, we're going on 28 years. Original campus opened up in 1992 in about 1,000 square foot location. He grew this with his family and at the same time grew a staff and grew a team to where now it's one of the larger schools in California, a 15,000 square foot location, currently about 725 to 730 actively training students, and is grossing over $1.6 million. One of the things that's very unique about his story, though, is that yes, he put in the hustle when the first 8 to 10 years of the business. He was the guy, but at the same time, he had the foresight to be able to build a team that was constantly growing and help find people that could take over the things that maybe he didn't want to do or he didn't do as well. And now, if you look at his business, he's involved as far as the day-to-day teaching of what he wants to be, but at the same time, he has the freedom and flexibility to do what he wants. For example, he took a 3-week cruise to celebrate his mother-in-law's 90th birthday this last year with him and his family, who are all key parts of the team. But at the same time, the business continued to grow without him as well. A little bit of my story. My wife and I here on the left, we opened up our Placentia campus about 7 years ago now. We are on track for over $1 million last year, as a matter of fact. We're currently about 380 active students. But what we did was we took the model of what my teacher did, Winterberg, and simply duplicated it. We followed the directions and we did what worked for that first campus. And through that grew the second campus, which over 7 years has grown very rapidly and we've been very blessed. We are a mom and pop karate school, and we are both family owned and operated. Jason on the left over there, his Xian-san, and he is an operational manager for the school. His wife's involved in the after school program. Xian's daughter and son-in-law are all involved in the program. We really are a family school. And same thing here at our second campus as well. My wife and I, we're both involved in the day-to-day. My mother-in-law runs our front desk. And at the end of the day, we're just a mom and pop martial arts school, but just being able to do it on a grander scale. Those of you guys who've been to some of our other webinars, and I'm sure Austin will post those links in the replay email as well, and give you some access to those. But one of the keys to our success, what Xian has built and what we've enhanced, is what's called our P3 Mastery Method. And our P3 Mastery Method is where it all happened. And this is what we call our key cornerstones to success. It's based off of the 5 pillars that you see on the left here: vision, product, which is your classes, staffing, which we're going to talk about today, metrics and numbers, which is very important, and marketing going into sales, etc. All 5 of these pillars are key for success. If you're strong in some pillars, like some people may have amazing classes, but maybe their marketing isn't up to board, they don't have any students to teach. Or some people have amazing marketing, but they're going out the back door, like we talk about in our retention. All of these are critical for growth. But what happens is that we found is if you master the pillars and you have a system for success in each one of these pillars, where they're all at a 10, that's going to lead to greater profits, which is going to lead to peace and prosperity. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Towards the end of this, I know some of you guys have been attending a lot of our webinars, been asking lots of great questions, both on the webinar and behind the scenes as well. Our contact information is down there if you have any questions. But at the end of the webinar today, we have a special gift that's going to help with kind of the P3 mastery method. But let's go and move forward. So going into staffing, there's some good news and there's some bad news. So let's start with the bad news first. The bad news is the biggest problem in your business is you. Okay, sorry to say it, but the biggest problem in your business is you. Now the good news is that the biggest solution in the business is also you. So here's what I mean by that, is that it all stems from the leader. It all stems from what you can do as a manager to help, and a leader to help grow your team. Dealing with employees is probably one of the most difficult parts of running a business. It's probably the most challenging, I'd say, but at the same time, it's one of the most rewarding aspects of running a business as well, like we'll talk about a little later. And I'm sure some of you guys are watching right now and listening, going, rewarding staff, how does that work out? No, we're going to talk about that. In order to grow and serve, we all need a team of instructors beside us to help reach the many. So I'll give you a quick example that my teacher, Winterberg, gives. True story, he was about 10 to 12 years into the business, and the business hit a rut. To where things were just not working out. Financially, there's some financial mistakes that were made. He stepped away from some of the things that were working pretty well, et cetera. And for whatever reason, we were just in a rut. And he had the opportunity to go to a conference that was in Florida, and we're here in California. So the flight ticket was expensive. It would have taken a week out of his schedule during a busy time of the year. And his mentor told him, no, you absolutely cannot afford not to go. So he scrounged up the money together, made it work, even though it was difficult. And he said, okay, I'm going to go. And he took his son with him as well. And at the conference, it was a conference. He's kind of, okay, I'm listening, I'm getting information, been to a lot of these before. And he took some time to reach out to a mentor, someone who's been successful in the business. And, his biggest frustration was his staff, was his team. And he was complaining about this person. Oh, my program director isn't doing what they're supposed to. They're not following up well. And the teaching team, they're kind of lazy. They're not being innovative, and this and that and the other. And, it's all this person's fault, that person's fault. And what can I do? And finally, he stopped, and his mentor turned and said to him, right in front of his 15-year-old son at the time, and said, you know what, Brad? The problem is you. And that kind of took him back for a second. The problem is 100% you. Because unless you're leading your team to success, you've grown as far as you can. Okay, the founder can only take it so far without being able to lead a team. So understand that, hey, you know what? You may have people that are in the wrong place, the wrong seats in the bus, or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, it's your responsibility as the leader to be able to help them grow and help make sure that you've got the right team in place. Since that conference, with some strategies, and she undertook a really strong emphasis on leadership, the school's never looked back. And today he has more freedom and flexibility than any other business owner that I know. So number one, it starts with why. Now, we all know about, and you guys have heard about, and if you listen to any other corporate books or podcasts or whatnot, they talk about mission, they talk about purpose. They talk about why does your business exist. Here's the thing, is that I used to think that was all for stuff. And I'm like, okay, great. We have a mission statement. Our second campus kind of inherited from our first campus. It's just kind of all the rage, going on vision retreats, this and that and the other. But guess what? Purpose applies to small business as well. Until I realized that we needed to have a purpose, my team wasn't going to grow. If I didn't set the purpose out as a leader of, hey, this is what we exist, this is what we're here for, beyond just teaching blocks, punch, and kicks. If my team didn't understand that, my customers wouldn't understand that. If my customers understand that, then we're just another sport. The greatest martial arts school has a purpose beyond teaching just blocks, punch, and kicks. It goes beyond teaching just competence, focus, and discipline. Those are just features of what you do. There has to be a burning desire behind why you exist. And here's the thing, most martial arts schools or most gyms or whatever the case may be think it's their art, their style, their secret sauce, whatever the case may be. They think that your secret sauce is the fact that we teach Goju or you teach Kempo or whatever the case may be. That's not it. For us, our major purpose is that we look at ourselves not just as a karate school, but we're child development and life coaches. We help the bullied child build confidence to stand up for themselves. We help the shy girl grow into a young woman who can say no and back it up. We help the battered woman build skills and courage to get out of abusive relationships, or the stressed out executive build self-control to avoid road rage on the freeway. Everyone on your team, from the head instructor to you, to your assistant instructor who's 14 years old, to the janitor, they have to know why you exist. Because if your team gets that why, all of a sudden they're going to be able to fight for a bigger purpose than just themselves. So a quick story with that. There's a gentleman that most of you guys probably never heard of in the early 1900s called Samuel Pierpont Langley. And he had a desire to be the first man to fly an airplane. So what he did was he stacked the odds in his favor. And Simon Sinek talks about this story in a lot more detail in his book, Start With Why. But Samuel Langley, he had a lot of powerful friends and in government and business, and he was even given a $50,000 grant. Think about this, in the early 1900s, that's a huge sum from the War Department to be able to build something to where we can build a device to fly an airplane. He brought together the greatest minds of the day, the scientific minds, the most talented team possible. The team had the most access to technology, materials. They were, and here's the thing, everybody was excited about it. The country rallied behind them. They were treated like rock stars and followed everywhere by the press. But not very far away, there's another team, two brothers, that were building their own airplane, the Wright brothers. And today we know their names a lot more than Samuel Langley. And they were working on their own airplane. But the difference was that they didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have that $50,000 grant. They didn't have a team of talent. In fact, not even a single person on the team had a college education, let alone an advanced degree. They didn't have the best materials. If you read the story, they were operating out of a bicycle shop. But they did have something that Pierpont didn't have, which was passion. Okay, as we all know, as a lot of us know, on December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers took man into flight for the very first time. And look where we are today. Why did the Wright brothers succeed where the most talented team failed? It wasn't just luck. Both Langley and Wright were both motivated. They had scientific minds and they worked hard. And Langley had a lot more money, talent, materials, etc. It wasn't systems, it wasn't processes, those we replicated. What it was the Wright brothers had the ability to inspire those around them and have a passion, have a dream beyond just becoming popular, beyond just doing this. They had a reason where they wanted to change the world. If you look at Apple, the MP3 player, the iPod, or the personal computer, or the iPhone, guess what? There were other companies that were doing that before Apple. Before Steve Jobs and Wozniak did that, right? There's better MP3 players out there that had much more storage, that were much more reliable than the iPod. But why did the iPod work? Because Jobs and Apple had a passion for changing the world. They said, hey, you know what? We're going to market this in such a way as well, where, hey, you can have 1,000 songs in your pocket. So it has to start with the why. It has to be beyond just the widgets, beyond just a 5 gigabyte hard drive, or beyond just karate or kung fu or CrossFit. It has to be a why of changing the world. So unless you have that figured out, it's hard to move forward. Number 2, creating the position and then hiring the best person. So a common mistake that most businesses make is hiring without purpose. For us, before at American Martial Arts Academy, before we even interview a potential team member, we know exactly what we expect from them. There's clear-cut key result areas and there's a clear job description. So for example, you must know the expectations before you even start looking. Then when you start interviewing, or now you know the best person to fit that position. Okay, even when we hire from the inside, which we do, it's important to be able to have an idea of what you're looking for in an instructor. So let's say you're looking to hire an instructor from within your school. Hey, what are the character qualities? What do they need to be able to learn? What do they need to be able to teach? What hours are they available, etc. before you start looking for that position. Then when you start hiring them, both the employees and the employer know exactly what the expectations are walking into that position. In addition to skill set though, another key area to look at is passion and culture fit. They have to fit into what you're doing. Sometimes if you have someone with a lot of talent, maybe they make sense as far as your most skilled martial artist. But sometimes even your most skilled martial artists, if they don't have the personality skills, they can't be an excellent teacher. So oftentimes that passion of excitement matters a lot more than just the talent. Ideally for our instructors, for us, all of our instructors, they're hired from the inside because they already know our business, they already know our system, and they've already felt the impact in their lives. Key tip on this is starting young. Okay, so for me, my story is that I was 6 years old when I walked into American Martial Arts Academy. And I remember the very first day, Shion started really young, before I even did a class. I remember, with my mom in the room, taking Shion's hand, and he's looked at me and said, "Hey, you could be a black belt one day." Okay, and I remember that still many, many years later. And as I grew up through the program, there's systems in place where I was involved in helping out in classes and this and that and the other. And even in green belts and brown belts, I was helping out in classes at 9, 10 years old. All of a sudden, I drew a passion for it. And from that point on, Shion could tell, and I started being groomed for different positions. Guess what? I'm not the only story on that. I wasn't the most talented martial artist, believe me on that. I mean, it took enough effort, how to tie my belt, even a couple years in. But what mattered more was the passion. Hey, this is something I was excited about. That's what we look for. That's what my teacher, Shion Winterberg, is excellent looking at, is saying, okay, who are the people who can have that excitement, have that spark, and those are the people that you want to groom for those positions. Sometimes you do have to hire from the outside. Be very careful about which positions you do hire from the outside, and then make sure for all of your people, including your people that you hire from within, as well as people from outside, you're doing background checks, life scans, etc. That is critical in a people business. But at the same time, sometimes you have to. Sometimes we have to hire from an administrative position, or maybe for your after-school program or things like that. Ideally, you don't want to. But if you do, make sure you have the processes in place and you do your best to interweave them into the culture. We've tried and failed with hiring from the outside before because the culture wasn't the right fit. We didn't get them involved in the classes, in the environment, connecting with the parents. So if you're going to do that, make sure that they're willing and make sure that you hold them to being involved in the culture. Number 3, breaking bread together. An interesting statistic that we share is 75% of people voluntarily leave their jobs. Don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses. So what that means is oftentimes when people leave their jobs, it's not what they didn't like about their job. Because think about what happens. They'll just go to another job where they're probably doing the same exact skill set, right? But what happens is they quit their bosses because their bosses, they don't feel like they connect. Maybe their boss is coming across as a jerk. Maybe their boss doesn't appreciate them, whatever the case may be. You have to look at those 5 love languages. Are you truly appreciating your team? And are you really speaking their language? That goes back to the key results areas. That goes back to what helps them succeed. A couple things that we do as far as breaking bread together. Number 1 is weekly meetings. Every Monday, we meet with their entire team. And we make sure that they understand the expectations, they understand where they're at. We go through our metrics together, we go through our people together, we talk about our successes, we talk about our challenges. And it's very open. We don't hide anything from our team because they're part of our family. In addition to that, we meet once a week with their instructing staff to go over more on the floor specifics, something we need to teach. That communication is really important. With our full-time team members, we meet with them as much as possible. Oftentimes it's very casual, just 10 minutes every day or 30 seconds every day, but just to find out, and we're involved in their lives. We want to know what makes them tick. We want to know how they're, if someone comes in and maybe have a poor attitude, we pull them in the office and say, hey, what's going on? Because it's important that we make them feel a part of our family. That's going to lead to staff retention as well. Team building events. Team building events are great to do. We go with their family events as well. We do a family picnic with their entire student body. We do a end of year staff party. We take our staff out to dinner once a year. We do all these different types of things to be able to make sure that they feel connected and a part. We want them to bond and be a part of what's going on. We want them to know that we got their back, and in turn, they're going to have our back as well. With their key players, we meet with them on a regular basis. We reward them for certain things. We have a great benefits package. We offer a 401k and simple IRA, et cetera. We find ways to invest in their lives as well. And when we meet with them, we talk about their individual goals. We talk about how, hey, you know what, you want to buy a house one day and you're 20 years old. Great, let's have a plan for success to help you do that. These are the kind of things when we talk about breaking bread together is so important, because if they feel that you're invested in their lives, they're gonna stick around. That's why we have such a high staff retention rate here between both of our campuses. We have team members who've been with us for a long, long time and aren't going anywhere because they feel like they belong. Number 4, don't ever stop learning. Continuing education is essential, not just for your team, but for you too. So I talked about it with Shion before, where he had to go out and really talk to his mentor and realize that, hey, I may be great at martial arts and business, etc., but I need to be great at leadership. Okay, so find out which areas that you need help in, oftentimes just a little bit in everything, and find a mentor that's going to help you get there. A common mistake that most business owners make, and especially most martial arts studios, is to assume that just because one's a black belt in the martial arts, one also is a black belt in business. However, we got to realize that, hey, but just because you're a black belt in martial arts, you may just be a white belt or yellow belt in business, or orange belt or purple belt. You have to have a mentor that's going to be able to tell you and help guide you along the way and tell you what you, not just what you want to hear and what you're the information you're looking for, but what you need to hear as well. Find mentors who you can talk to about business and talk to about team challenges. Maybe just bounce ideas off them. Find educational opportunities for your team to grow their business skills. One of the things that we do for a lot of schools is our P3 online university, where we take those different pillars and we really break it down. We actually just launched it a couple of months ago. We have a waiting list for it, so if you're interested in that, feel free to let me know. But this is where we actually have a live question and answer session every day. You can log in there, ask a question, and we were able to, just this morning, answer a few questions right off the bat. We're filming a video to answer some of those questions in person, be able to help people grow. But you got to make sure you don't just have a tool for success, but you have a mentor that's going to help guide you there. Zen Planner is great at this as well, right? They have an awesome system, an awesome CRM, awesome website services, etc. But they don't just have a great tool, they have an awesome team to be able to back it up. All right, so when you're having trouble with something, they're there to help guide you through the process, just like they helped me just last week. So make sure that you know who is your mentor. Make sure that you're using your mentor. And make sure your team has access to a mentor as well. A mentor is someone who's been where you are, who's where you want to be, and someone who's going further along the path that you want to go to as well. So remember, it's not just about finding someone who knows the stuff, but someone who's been where you are, someone who's in the trenches with you, which is critical. Now, troubleshooting. There's times when a team member just isn't performing, right? We've all had that team member where it just isn't clicking. Maybe they're disconnected. Maybe apathy set in, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you have to look, and again, remember that the buck stops with the leader. And you have to look from the outside and go, okay, is there a system, is there a process in place that's setting them up for success? So these are 4 critical questions to ask yourself when maybe you have a team member that just isn't clicking or that frustration setting in. Number 1, do they know what they're doing wrong? Okay. The key thing with business and with leadership is that you have to let them know what's going on. Sometimes if you just bottle in and they don't know that they're doing something wrong, they're gonna keep on doing it. Just like with a student, if you don't correct their center block, they're gonna keep on doing the crappy center block. So you have to make sure that you're continually setting yourself up for success with meeting with them, sometimes in a group setting, sometimes individual setting, and helping them understand, hey, here's the right way to do it, modeling it the right way. Number 2, do they have clearly defined written expectations? So when they're doing something wrong, maybe they are not showing up to work on time. Maybe or maybe they're not doing this process correctly, or whatever the case may be. Do they have a clear, defined, written expectation for success? Okay, and do they understand? Do they have them sign off on it? Go through it step by step. All of our processes here are designed to be super easy. Any single one of our team members, it's color by numbers. If they want to sign up a student, great. They pull out the sheet. Here you go. Walk you through it. Connect the dots. Here it is. If someone wants to send out an email to our student body, it's connect the dots. Boom. There you go. Number 3 is, do they have the right tools they need for success? So make things simple and give them the right tools for success. What that means is tools like Zen Planner, for example. Do they know how to use Zen Planner? Maybe you've had a lot of contact with Zen Planner. Maybe put them in touch with a contact support, or put them in the Zen Planner Academy, or whatever the case may be. If they're the ones using it, make sure they know how to use those tools as well. Do they have the right environment for success? Do they have, talk to them and make sure that they have what they need. Number 4, are they on the right seat on the bus? Sometimes someone can be the right fit for your organization, but in the wrong seat on the bus. Maybe they're horrible at teaching, but they can be an excellent marketer. Maybe a team member could be great with logistics, but horrible with people. A good tool to use is using something called a DISC test, D-I-S-C. You can find them online and give them to your team, and you can see exactly where their strengths and where their weaknesses are, understanding their personalities a little bit more, etc. Great example of this is one of our first people that we had as an instructor. We tried to hire as a program director, and this was 25, 26 years ago. And what happened is that they were great as an instructor, but when it came down to the details, they weren't the right fit for that. So we had to make the decision to be able to put them in the right spot. Now, sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes you'll hit a roadblock. Maybe their character outside the school isn't matching your organizational values. Maybe apathy sets in. Remember that talented people who don't care are worthless. Okay? Character and passion always comes first. Okay? If someone is not fitting the mold of your team, if you teach life skills-based martial arts and they're not acting in that lifestyle outside of the studio, that's something to take a look at. Okay? Because it's gonna seep into your business. If you start to sense that your team member is not passionate about what they're doing, you either need to fix that, and you got to ask those questions you did before. But if you just notice that they're not there, you have to take a look and say, okay, are they in the right seat on the bus? If the passion still isn't there, then you may have to let them go. Again, talented people who don't care are worthless. As teachers, we all get attached to our team members, and they become family. Some of them are family. In a lot of martial arts schools, a lot of small businesses, mom and pops are just that, mom and pops. Some of you guys hire or work closely with your spouses. Some of you guys hire your in-laws like I have. My mother-in-law runs our front desk. Some of you guys may hire your kids or whatever the case may be. Remember that if you're running a business, you're putting on that business hat, your purpose comes first, and the business's purpose comes first. The moment someone stops fitting that purpose, or has a purpose that doesn't align with the school's vision, then you are no longer in alignment. And sometimes addition through subtraction is necessary. Okay? Quick story, my teacher, Sheila Winterberg, had to, when she was young, when she was 17, 18, 19 years old, had to fire her daughter for a short period of time and tell her, go get another job out there. Sorry, it's just not fitting right now. And until you find that maturity. And she did, and she went and she worked here, she worked at a bank and this, that, and the other, until she matured to the point to where then he could rehire her. And then she came back saying, okay, I understand I wasn't fitting the character and passion and purpose of this place. So sometimes you have to make those hard decisions, whether it be family or team members who are practically family, and really reevaluate. And that's where a mentor again comes in. Someone who can look with an impartial set of eyes and go, hey, this isn't fitting what you said you wanted to fit. A great quote from a business leader called Chris Hogan is good leaders help people get better at their jobs. Great leaders help people get better with their lives. As you mentioned before, managing employees, whether it be 1 employee or 20 employees, can be challenging. And when you look at labor laws, which we haven't discussed because that varies from state to state, but you got to be on top of that, to staff situations or scheduling or this or that or the other, it can be very difficult. But it can also be rewarding. Because when you build the right team, as we have here at both of our campuses, American Martial Arts Academy, it can lead to more freedom, more growth, and more opportunity. Not just for yourself as the ownership or management team, but for everybody. We have a team here between both of our campuses where we enjoy getting together. We enjoy going to the mountains together. We enjoy going out to dinner together. Just me and some other team members were just in Mammoth over the weekend. We enjoyed not just getting better at our jobs, but we enjoy and have passion within our lives as well. Remember, no one wants a boss, but everyone wants a coach. Okay, so your job isn't just to be the boss who tells them, hey, here's what you do and this, that, and the other, but you got to be a coach. We have the opportunity to be the family that sometimes our team may not have in their own lives. A quick story about freedom. One of our team members, the greatest joy that I have as a manager and as an owner is seeing our team succeed. And that's what Shion said about us. When he saw that, when I was able to purchase my own first car or purchase my own first house, and same thing with some of our other team members, that's where he gets a lot of his joy. And just recently I was able to help see, a couple years ago, help my team be able to see that as well. And all of a sudden they're able to do different things in their own lives. They're able to take vacations. One of our team members is taking a 2-week trip to Italy next week. All those types of things, they're able to do this through the success that we built in our business. They have that freedom. They have that flexibility. They're not employees. Their mindset is that they're self-employed and they're part of something greater than themselves. That's where it goes back to starting with that why. There has to be that reason that's bigger than themselves and then ourselves. Oh, sorry. So I mentioned before we get into some Q&A, a lot of people have been asking, through one of our previous webinars about how to get some more information about, especially our enrollments. That's one of the most popular webinars that we have. So one of the things that we have going on right now is a free gift for anybody watching this webinar, and especially for Zen Planner clients, is in February, we're launching an online bootcamp. And this online bootcamp is really going to help focus on enrollments, but we're also going to be touching on all those other pillars as well, from staff to vision, all these different things. They're all tied together. So definitely check this out. There's we'll send out the link. I know Austin will send it out later as well, I believe. And you'll see it in the chat box too. But we're going to be going over how to get into those hard to get schools, what to do when you're at school programs, maximize conversion. We're also going to be talking about how to be able to help train your staff to be able to do this as well. So register now. It's absolutely free. There are a limited amount of spots available because we're going to be doing a little more hands-on with this. So register now at mabizcoach.com/ZenCamp, because especially for Zen Planner clients, and then we'll get you guys in on the free camp. So other than that, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions.
Cool. It doesn't look like we have any questions as of right now, but as Nikhil mentioned, I'll be sending a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar, as well as a link to past webinars that Nikhil has done with us, and the link to the boot camp, the 12-day camp that he just mentioned. So we'll be sending that out shortly, and otherwise we will see you at the next webinar.
Sounds great. And real quick, Austin, I want to thank Zen Planner as well. Zen Planner, again, has the tools. We talked about, do you have the right tools? Zen Planner is that right tool. So again, I encourage you guys to get not just yourselves involved with the Zen Planner team, but connect your team with them as well, because that's something that's really important in our business. So.
Cool. And we do actually have one question just typed in from Ali here. So I just want to cover that real quick. But would you pay salary onto your instructors, or salary and bonus, or contract, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, so our team members, there's different ways that we do our team members, and depending on what type of team member that they are. We try and incentivize team members where we can. Our part-time team members, we have some high school students, et cetera, they're mainly on just hourly, and that's it. Our more full-time team members, they're on more of a salary. And then there's opportunity for growth in there as well. We strongly believe as the business grows, they're able to grow as well. So as the business has more profitable months or more profitable quarters, we pass on profit sharing to them as well. Oftentimes in a direct check, as well as for perhaps their 401ks, et cetera, benefits, et cetera.
Cool. Well, like I mentioned, I'll send that email out shortly, and we will see you all at the next webinar.
Sounds great. Thanks, Austin. Have a great one, guys.